Phantom Sitter and Phantom Sitter. Yes, we're going to be checking out both a music video and a first take performance by Phantom Sitter today, the band who are giving us the song Zoku Zoku to check out. Now, why are we doing this? Well, partly because of the fact that when it comes to Phantom Sitter, well, I've been intrigued with them ever since they first debuted, but I haven't really been following their music as closely as a lot of other people have. However, recently I have been doing track-by-track listen-throughs to all of Ado's songs, and trying to really sort of get a better understanding of her beyond just the singles and looking into her discography on a track-by-track basis. Sorry, you can probably hear the trains. I'm very close to the train track and I do have the window open, but anyway. So, I've been really sort of following a lot of Ado's music recently in much more depth, and you can't really talk about Ado without also talking about Phantom Sitter at least a little bit, because this is the group which she kind of produced in her image, I guess you'd say, or at least you can very much sort of feel the fingerprints of her creative style, her creative aesthetic, very much in Phantom Sitter, and a lot of the very dramatic and, shall we say, expressive vocals, as well as the sound, the crazy sounds that are often very apparent in the music. There's certainly a sisterhood between what Ado produced as a solo artist and the group, which I believe she's credited as being the sort of producer of. When I say producer, I don't mean in the studio producer sense, but more as in the producer, as in the architect, the mastermind behind. So anyway, I went to their YouTube page, as I've been checking out some of their songs recently, and people have been very kindly asking me to look into things like their first take and more of their songs. And so I basically just went to their videos page, I clicked on popular to see what the most popular songs were. Well, one of them is Tomodachi, the song that I did a reaction to very recently. Then there's the song that I did my first ever reaction to when it came to Phantom Sitter. And then the third song is this one, Zoku Zoku, and I immediately remembered Zoku Zoku is the one that they also did a first take performance of, which I was actually at one point going to check that, but I never got round to that. So, we're going to do them both today. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the studio version, then I'm going to do the first take version. I'm not expecting them to be massively different, but I know that some of my favourite performances I've ever heard on the first take have been different in some way. I know we had the Baby Metal one where I think it was Monochrome, apologies if I get that wrong, where they did a beautiful piano rendition of I think it must have been Monochrome, because they did a beautiful piano rendition of a song that is otherwise usually very much a rock song. And I remember when I heard that just thinking, well, I love this song, and now I've got two versions of that I really love. But we've also had songs like the Anna and Leela's song, which I really enjoyed. I love that song anyway. That's one of my favourite songs of recent years. But hearing that performed on first take, rather than reinventing it, they just kind of did a version that was more openly raw. So I'm looking forward to hearing both the original, but then hearing the first take version to hear their voices a little bit more raw. Not that I think they've got any talent that they need to prove. They've just got, they don't have to prove their talent. Their talent is pretty much already proven. But also to hear that and hear how the instrumental maybe sounds different. But first we're going to have to hear the original to know what the instrumental even sounds like. Enough waffle. Shall we jump in and have a little listen to this one? This is, first of all, for the first take, sorry, that's the sound of me changing the volume on my computer. This is the studio version and music video for Zoku Zoku. Then we'll watch the first take. Let's go. I like that first note. Ooh. Nice. Ooh, it's a bit of a Enka vibe almost. I was going to say I had a very old school vibe, and then it suddenly went a little bit Central Asian. That is cool though. Nice and funky. Loving the bass underneath. Oh wow, I'm just loving. Okay, nice chanting refrain. I was going to say I'm loving all the changes, but changes keep coming. So I ain't got time to talk about them. I love how every time you think you're in the chorus, something more chorus-like appears. Ooh, nice. Kind of a low EDM bass there. And the use of the little rhythm changes in the vocals there. So much little detail. It's so interesting because the song just kind of seems to just kind of flow onwards. I guess it's establishing a little bit more of a structure now. But I love the way it just feels like all these lovely little developing sections that just beautifully dovetail on from the last part. And then that sort of dramatic low bass there. Okay, I can totally see why they picked this one for the first take. Oh, there you go. Look at those credits. Let's give a little love for the credits as well. All right. Oh, there's a lot to talk about with this one, but let's keep it fairly to the point. As much as I love to waffle, because we're about to check out the first take version, and I'm genuinely excited to check out the first take version now, because this song was really intriguing, and I guess it's always fair to add a little bit of comparison when we talk about these things, and the two most obvious comparisons being the most recent song I've checked out, and of course their seemingly most popular song from back at the beginning. I would say that the one thing that this definitely has over those two songs is that I felt like Zoku Zoku was this song that just kind of, it had its changes, but it flowed so naturally. I mean, I said at the beginning of Tomodachi, I really liked the sound of Tomodachi, but I felt in the bridge, it just had this thing where the flow just kind of got lost, and it just kind of lost a little bit of its energy and ended on a little bit of a, didn't quite carry it through to the ending. And then when it comes to Just Wanna With You, I mean, I'm going to assume what is written there. You know, when it came to this particular song, I thought that was, again, maybe not as immediately, grabbingly exciting as a Tomodachi, but it managed to still have a wonderful flow of interesting ideas that was very crazy, but still, you know, just held it together. But the one thing that's obvious is that when it comes to Phantom Zeta songs, we are seeing a lot of these songs that kind of have a lot of changes in them. And it's about how well that's managed, how well you both get the concept, like the sound, whether it be a Tomodachi having a little bit of a kind of a hip-hop feel to it, or whether it be sort of Just Wanna having a little bit more of a old-school, crazy, kooky, synthetic sound to it. it's about taking that idea and then how you can do as many crazy things with it as you can, and also using the vocal talents of the women in the group. When it comes to this one though, Zoku Zoku, I just got the feeling that they very clearly quickly set up this kind of slightly old school vibes of Enka, a little bit of a Central Asian. It felt like it was kind of balancing everywhere between Turkey and China in places where the sound went. You know, it had these kind of old school, funky, interesting Asian vibes going on throughout. But what was interesting is that it flowed and it changed, but it never lost the energy. The energy was really beautifully transferred through. As mentioned, we got those bits where it was a little bit more bass is really low. It's kind of a bit of a low, sinister beat. And then the lyrics got a little bit rap-esque with some little punchy syllable deliveries here and there. And then you had the nice bits where they were singing in a chorus, and you know, everything became a little bit more melodic and layered, and there was all these nice changes, but it never felt like there was any deviations or huge changes that really shook you off. And don't get me wrong, you can have a song which has some pretty big changes and still make it work, but for me this was a song which was much more just about having this beautiful consistent flow that sort of winded its way through the song, but just kind of kept a steady tone, but whilst also developing in an interesting way. It has to be said though that their vocals here, really nice. We had some moments of really building up the vocals with big, powerful swells, and then those little punchy bits, as I say, of semi-rap-esque vocals. There were really cool things happening throughout this song. I would say, though, that overall, it definitely was a song that, I felt they were using the subtlety of their voices. It's kind of interesting, because I will say, I keep on noticing that in the Phantom Sitter videos, it's clearly part of their look. They like to do the crazy eyes thing, stare. I gotta be honest, I'm not a huge fan of that. I think that it's kind of like one of those things that occasionally can work, but when you're doing it all the time, it just kind of looks like you got an eye problem. But don't worry, I get the cultural reason for doing it and like what it kind of signifies and everything, but it does just kind of look a little bit much. Sometimes when every single member is staring at you like this, you're like, okay, eye drops. So yeah, I have to say that was a little bit, that's always a bit odd that I keep on seeing that in their videos, but it's clearly part of their look. However, I feel like the theatrical element in their vocals was delivered very subtly here, and I really liked it. And of course, the song starts off with that building, 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 building harmony that makes it perfect for the first take. Yes, that's what we're going to be listening to next then. Interesting enough, let's see how the looks compare, because the first take gets crazy views. So it's 2 million views on the first take version, and the original version's got 4.9 million views. So that's incredible. That came out, when did Zoku Zoku come out? It premiered on the 30th of October, and then the first take version was only a couple of months ago. Wow, January 2026. Anyway, there you go. We're going to jump in and we're going to give it a little listen, and we're going to see now how the first take version compares. This is definitely a song that both vocally will be interesting to hear them perform it live, but also I can really imagine this having an interesting instrumental. I'm going to really interested to see how they do the instruments. Are they going to bring in the proper authentic kind of Asian instruments to give it a bit of a feel, or are they going to change the arrangement? I'm just going to be really interested to see what we get from this. But anyway, this is Zoku Zoku, the first take performance from January of this year. Let's go. There you get to hear them all put on the squeaky headphones, as is the first take way. I promise you, no one in an actual studio is this quiet. You only start being quiet when the actual record button's pressed, and even then, not all the time.
Phantom Sitter です。よろしくお願いします。
But it's so polite on the first take. Ah, so good. Okay, so recorded backing. Alright.
知ってますか唇って大丈夫な端っこなのよ
Her voice is so perfect, you almost can't believe it's live. I know they use a bit of compression and stuff, but wow. I kind of really wish they did a live instrumental for this, but okay.
ネオ新鮮のレーザービームに新鮮美人様のほとりでその通 りだぜかフィラカランランラ Well 昨今ガの悪魔ソファンガターそれを笑で笑うファンパターシターならしまいよりてくる
This is one of those takes, this is one of those videos where it's so perfect I can imagine all those haters being like doubting on it. That little build up there, I love that. It's those little... It's those, like, even those bending the notes, the perfection. They go, It's not just pitch bending the note, it's the timing and the speed of it. You notice how I saw that how one of the members was looking across at the other. I wonder how tight they're choreographed even with the facial expressions. That's such a nice melody. Now you can kind of recognize it as the chorus, it really works. And again, I'm loving how you're getting all of those classy, sort of very atmospheric instruments, but the bass line's still working away back there. Yeah. There's a lot of range in this song. That's such a kind of like the atmospheric ending that you go, yep, that sounds about right. Again, they're big on atmosphere, aren't they, Phantom Sinner? A lot like their producer, Ardo. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. All right, now there's a peak right here. I'm always intrigued when there's a peak on the play bar. What was this bit? Okay. I wonder if there's a lot of people who are going back just to see that side-eye stare. That look there. I bet a lot of people were going back to go, did you look at her? Did you look at her? Okay, I suspect that's probably why there's a lot of people scrolling back to that point. Squeaky chair. All right, serious talk. This is kind of an interesting one because I think more than anything I've seen in the past from Phantom Sitter. Look, as I said before, I had no question about the skill, and I think it was pretty clear that if Ardo is going to put together a group, considering her whole quality, the whole thing that made her so famous is that she is this influential, oh my god, isn't that amazing, where did this woman come from, singer with this incredible talent, this incredible sense of expression. She's going to put together a group. That's going to be one of the core qualities that people are going to expect from them. So I'm not surprised that we are looking at a group who are absolutely fantastically talented, but it is one of those ones where when you see the First Take performance, it is so good, it is so pitch perfect and beautifully delivered that yes, I can imagine someone who doesn't know any better just watching this going, that can't be real. They got to pre-record that. Because it's so often we hear a lot of artists, and I don't expect artists to be pen perfect singers. I always say that I am kind of more impressed by songwriters as someone who's worked with songwriting. That to me is the core quality. But I don't think that takes anything away from when you see a performer who is truly, truly just able to like nail everything. We think about people like Ado, Irie Suzuki, those singers who just, they nail the notes. And so when you see something like this, I am thinking, if you're going to be a vocal group, that's going to be your thing, then yeah, I guess this is what you should aim for. And it is amazing to see that they are so good at both doing pitch perfect singing, adding some expression, and they're kind of acting as well. Now, this is where I'm going to add an interesting point. I wasn't really expecting to discuss this today, but I'm going to add this in here because I think this is something that I'm also, as I'm kind of, if you like, crafting together my thoughts about Phantom Sitter a lot during this video, and I feel like I'm learning a bit about them as I go. I've got to say that one of the things is rather interesting. The talent is undeniable, but it intrigued me about this video, first of all, that we didn't get any backing musicians. I don't remember the last time I saw a First Take where there wasn't actually any backing musicians. I really don't remember that. Sometimes you get the ones where there'll be certain instruments where you don't see them, but you usually see some kind of backing instruments. So I don't remember the last time I saw one which had no backing. It might have been Team Tomodachi. If you haven't seen that one, you've got to see that. It's the most fucking hilarious one. But but yeah, I like, in all fairness, I can't remember the last time I see one. So for a song like this, where there's so much going on musically, I was genuinely surprised that they didn't have a performance of the instrumental to add a little bit to it. So it was totally focused on them as singers, and they nailed it absolutely. But I was almost intrigued by how choreographed they looked. Not only was their vocal performance perfect, but the way they looked, their facial expressions, everything, the way they turned to each other, a la this scene that we just saw here. It feels almost like they are stage performers, and I don't mean that so much in a musical sense, it's a theatrical sense. They feel like their performance on a stage, like they're performing in an opera. And again, as I mentioned before, I can see a certain precedent for the wide-eyed stare, because the wide-eyed stare itself is something, I mean, you associate it back to like traditional Japanese theatre with the masks. The characters with the very clear eyes and the stares would be a very common thing you see with masks and such like. There would be more I know some people are saying kabuki theatre. Kabuki's not the right word. That much I know. I try to avoid calling it kabuki because it's not kabuki, but I don't actually know the real word. I should know that. I've been to like... the shrine that I kind of go to like every year has like a stage where I do these performances at Matsuri, and I should know the word by now. But anyway, so the masks, the eyes, so I know that's a quintessentially a performative thing. I just found it very interesting because often when I think of the First Take, not always, but the First Take, I think of it as the place where the artist just kind of relax and just shows you their true self. That's not necessarily what it's for. It's for the First Take. Deliver your song however you want to, just deliver it. So it doesn't have to be that way. But it was interesting because in a way I expected this to be kind of the more loose version for them to just come on and just sort of like nail it. But they came on and they really performed it. And I mean that in the full theatrical sense. Facial expressions, movements, everything. It felt like a performance. And that's interesting for me. That's interesting. I wonder if this is one of those groups where the image is very all-consuming, or whether they're one of those groups where you do occasionally see them kind of just relax a bit and chill out and do performances in a much more loose way. I did notice that if you take away the popular and just go to latest on their YouTube page, you see a lot of stuff which is like vocal recording behind the scenes, these kind of things. So there's a lot of in between the spaces kind of thing. But even with... Yeah, even with their sort of diary things, they look very much like they're kind of scripted media. I don't know. I should watch some, but it does look like that's kind of the vibe they give. Kind of reminds me a little bit of, dare I say, Atarashi Gakko. Yeah, Atarashi Gakko seems to always be wearing the image. So I'd be interested to know, is that something that you would say is true for Phantom Sitter? I guess it makes more sense with things like Phantom Sitter, where the entire sound and image it is very theatrical. I mean, again, I mentioned about Ado being the person who put this together, and if you think about Ado, obviously she doesn't show her face at all. Everything about her is therefore kind of like crafted to be theatrical. But we do hear her on like radio interviews, and her voice, she'll talk very honestly about things. So I'd be really interested to know that. But anyway, I'm talking a lot about things I hypothesize and the thinking about rather than things I know here. And so in this particular case, that's just kind of where this leaves me, which is what this leaves me thinking about and what I'd be interested to see you guys talk about in the comments. Obviously, respectfully. Comments tend to be really great on our videos, but it's one that I'd be really interested to know what people think about and say about that. But I will say, from a song point of view, I thought this was very entertaining. It didn't quite, I wouldn't say it was like my number one song from them. I don't think it quite hit the highest of their highs, or necessarily had some of the moments like with Otomodachi, where it kind of has moments where you go, I don't know if that worked. This to me felt like a fairly stable, good example of what they seem to be. Interesting sound, very escapist, fantastic performance that shows a wide and eclectic range of vocal talents, and a song that goes through twists and turns, but in this case manages to hold it together in a way that feels like it works and carries you through to the end, despite the 4.5 minute runtime. So I enjoyed this a lot. And I'd be very interested to know what you guys think as well. So get in the comments as always. Tell me what you think. As mentioned, I'll be looking forward to discussing this with you. And maybe we can do a little bit more Phantom Sitter if you guys like this. But anyway, there you go. Those are my thoughts. Tell me what you think. Until I hopefully see you very soon for the next one of these. For now, ciao, ciao.